What's going on? It's Joshua Jones here with Fun and Affordable Magic the Gathering, bringing you Limited EDH Series 1, Episode 7. Continuing our allied, color pairing, guild restricted commander deck text, we have House Dimir. As reminded, guild restricted means that all the cards have to contain both guild colors, in this case blue and black, unless they contain the mechanic, watermark, or guild name. Szadek, Lord of Secrets, leads it off for us. It's 3 blue blue, black black for a 5/5 legendary creature vampire with flying. If Szadek, Lord of Secrets, would deal combat damage to a player, instead, that player is going to mill or put cards from the top of their library equal to the total amount of damage done by Szadek, Lord of Secrets. Then you're going to get +1/+1 counters on Szadek equal to the amount of cards that the damage would have been. Here we have a ramp card, so we have Mistvein Border Post and Dimir Cluestone to kick it off. So Mistvein Border Post comes in tapped, and it taps for blue or black. Also, too, if you want, you can pay the alternative cost of 1 and return a land you control rather than to pay the 3. So kind of like pay 2, sort of, in a way. Here we have the Keyrune, Signet, and Talisman of Dominance. Ancient Excavation is not really a ramp card, but I include it on this slide because you can basic land cycle it to ensure that you hit your land drop. Here we have Sire Stagnation and Notion Thief kicking off our draw suite. So these are all cards that let us draw cards. With the Sire Stagnation, whenever an opponent plays a land, they have to mill into exile the top 2 cards of their library, and you get to draw 2 cards. Notion Thief, you could flash in on them, and if they would draw a card, except for the first one that they drew each turn, instead, they skip that, and you draw a card. Every time that Notion Thief's on the battlefield, this is going to happen. So the first time you want to just kind of sneak it in whenever somebody plays a draw spell so that you can guarantee to at least replace it, because it does only have 1 toughness. Cut Purse. Infiltrator, Riddles, and Robe continue the draw spells with this, but all these cards care about dealing combat damage to a player, and then you get a draw card whenever that happens. Bane Alley Broker, Baleful Strix, Guild Mage, and the Feeder here. So with Bane Alley Broker, you're never going to be able to get more than 1 card every other turn, because you will have to exile a card from your hand face down whenever you draw a card with it. So eventually, if you want to get those cards back and actually be up cards, you're going to have to pay 2 and tap it to return the exile cards to their owner's hand. Baleful Strix just replaces itself, but you can't beat a 1/1 for 2 with flying and death touch. Guild Mage allows you to have people discard cards, or you could just pay 4 mana anytime you can cast a sorcery to draw cards. And then for 5 mana, you could draw a card and have an opponent, well, each opponent actually put the top card of their library into exile. Also ingest them, so if this card happens to get in, which, not really here for that, but the player will have to mill their top card of their library into exile. We move on our discard suite, so we have Dire Undercurrent and Helm of Geist Lord, I think is how you say that. And basically, this cares about pumping up blue creatures or black creatures, and then whenever it deals damage, you draw a card, and they discard a card. And then also, whenever you play a blue spell or a black spell, you draw a card, they discard a card. Whispering Madness, Soul Ransom, Consult the Necrosages, and Blizzard Spectre are just some more hand attack, having players discard cards. And then in Soul Ransom's case, you get rid of a creature altogether because you gain control of it. And then if that player doesn't want you to have it, they have to discard 2 cards, and then you get to draw 2 cards when that happens. We see our first Dimir mechanic between Cipher and Transmute in Whispering Madness with the Cipher mechanic. Basically means that whenever you play this spell, you can exile Encoded, which just means like basically kind of like Enchanted, but the card's in exile. And whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, you get to recast the card without paying for it. So Whispering Madness, you want to play like on main phase 1, for example, and then get in with a creature that can hit for damage, and then they'll be discarding whatever cards they draw, and then drawing cards again. Basically just going through cards here. Then, since we're getting rid of cards and attacking players' hands, we're going to want to do something with those cards. So, in the case of Memory Plunder, we can cast an instant or sorcery without paying its mana cost from an opponent's graveyard. And then with the Spectre, if it gets in for combat damage, they got to exile the top card, and then you can play those cards. Extract has the player mill 2 cards for each player, including yourself, and then you get to put a creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And then in the Mind Leech Mass situation here, whenever it deals damage to a player, you can look at their hand and then play a card that's a non-land without paying its mana cost. Excuse me. Now we have our removal suite starting off with counter spells and targeted removal. So Solangar's command is a modal spell where you get a pick 2, you destroy target planeswalker, give -3/-3 to a creature, return a permanent to its owner's hand, or counter target non-creature spell. Undermine, just counter target spell. Perplex, Muddle the Mixture, Psychic Strike, and Soul Manipulation are just some more counter spells, but here we see Transmute, which says you can pay the transmute cost, discard this card, and search your library with the same converted mana cost, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shelve your library, but you can only do this as a sorcery. So even though you can search for any card, it does have the requirement of being the CMC of the card that you discard with transmute on it, so you will have to reveal it. And it's important to note that the transmute cost and the CMC card cost are not the same. So you see that in Muddle the Mixture, but you could be confused because Perplex and the transmute cost and the CMC are the same, but that's not always the case. So sometimes you do have to pay more to get less, sometimes you pay less to get more. Here we see Brain Spoil, Taigam Sidisi's Hand, Evil Twin, and Stalking Assassin to round out our removal suite. Here we have our mill cards. Our mill cards are probably the most important strategy of this deck. I mean, that's what the commander's doing, and the mill suite also helps you with this strategy. So Phoenix God of Deception is just infamous for milling, and you can run this as an alternate commander with pretty much little to no difference than the commander itself. The commander does end up getting quite a bit more cards milled because you do have that replayability, but Phoenix God of Deception is no joke. For real, anytime you see a transmute 5 card on it, I have that in this deck so that you can go get Phoenix God of Deception because it's that important. And then if you have a chance to return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, you're going to want to return Phoenix if that happens to be in your graveyard somehow. I mean, it's indestructible, and sometimes it's not a creature. It's almost always going to be a creature, but you kind of sort of be better off if it's not. Well, game determinant that is. So with Circa Dimir Lobotomist, the cool part about this is that you're playing a lot of blue spells and black spells. So pretty much, you're just milling people out. And then that last bit of text about not playing the same name, that's whatever. Mind Funeral, Memories Luis, I don't know how to say that. Dust Mantle, Guild Mage, and Necromancer Dragon, just some more removal. Just not removal, but mill cards here. So mill all day long. Mill, what a thrill. We continue on. Consuming Aberration, Nemesis of Reason, Mirko Vosk, and then Una, Queen of the Fae. And then basically, like, you're either milling cards in the graveyard or milling cards in exile with all these cards here. Consuming Aberration gets out of hand really quick. Also, just a quick note on that because it is dumb and people are not going to like it. Here we have Psychic Drain, Mind Grind, Pilfered Plans, and Paranoid Delusions. And that, I believe, does it for the mill suite. Here's our utility card. So we have Dustmantle Seer, which is going to allow you and everyone else at the beginning of your upkeep, so long as it's out, to lose life equal to the converted mana cost of the top card of their library and put that card in their hand. So an extra kind of draw. Our liege, like usual, because it's +1/+1 and +1/+1, and we're running guild restrictions, so why not get that extra little bit in there? Especially good if we have this in our commander out because pop, mill yourself. Here we have Dimir Infiltrator, Vela the Night Clad, the Usher, and Drift of Phantasms. So again with the transmute cards, but also in the Usher we can make a card unblockable this turn, which is great, and then basically the Nightclad gives everything Intimidate, so it's not really unblockable, but it's kind of unblockable. Not really unblockable, but kind of. Here we have the Scab, the Recovery, Identity, and Dimir Mastermind. So just some more utility, like return stuff from our graveyard to our hand, or replay stuff and get copies of stuff. And then in the case of Dimir Mastermind, it has hexproof, and then whatever it copies has hexproof. So if something enters the graveyard under an opponent's control from anywhere, and it's a creature, like you can have the Mastermind become that card. And then we're running 39 lands in this deck, 16 of each of the basics, swamps and island respectively. And then we see here that we have some mill options in our non-basic land suite as well, so kind of like an extra freeze spell sort of. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but we're playing 39 lands total. That's the House Dimir for you. If you want to check out the deck, it's on MTG Goldfish 868-812. You can pick this deck up for $46 and some change, so just under $50, and you got yourself a nice little, and by nice I mean completely dirty. It's it's really kind of ridiculous milling people out. I mean, but if you get a kick out of it, I'll be honest with you. I play a Phoenix deck that my buddy John built for me, and I secretly really like it a lot. Does that make me a bad person? I don't know. You tell me. Like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned next week for another guild restricted deck and the allied color pairings. I think we got 3 left. So, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm Joshua Jones from Fun and Affordable Magic the Gathering, and I'll see you next time.